example, I know we don't all have time for that,
No,
but
yeah.
you see, in order to narrow down as to what you need to study, it's like, I would say, look at the religions which preach monotheism, which preach that God is one. The reason for that is because imagine if you
كن سعيدا كن فريدا عش بفخر في الحياة لا تبالي.
prior to Muhammad coming, the last messenger coming, was for a particular nation, was for a particular people. And this is something clear based on what these messages were. So if you look at the Old Testament, like I told you earlier, you will see in Deuteronomy 6:4, Moses, this message is saying, "Hear, O Israel, your Lord God is one." You see, Moses is addressing a particular nation, the nation of Israel. Yes, the Bani Israel. And this is a message for them. And Jesus later on says, in the New Testament, it says the same thing. In Mark 12, I believe it's 29:12 or 12:29. Forget it. Yeah, it says that, "Hear, Israel, your Lord God is one." And Jesus in Matthew 15 says, "I've not come except for the lost sheep of Israel." So you see, time and time again, we see in the Old Testament and the New Testament that the message is addressed to a particular people, a particular nation. However, when you look at the last message, from the last messenger, look at the Quran from given to Prophet Muhammad, it says in there that the reference is to the people, all the people. It says, "Ya ayyuhan nas." This is a universal message for everyone. So your question, why would God send a message to different prophets and then it gets distorted, and then God sends another prophet and it gets distorted again? Yes, it did happen. Actually, you're right. It did get distorted. Because you see, men, when they look at the message of God, there are many things that they don't like from that. For example, God forbids drinking alcohol in Islam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah? So many people would definitely want to change that particular law, saying that yes, we should be able to drink alcohol. It's something that we have fun and we drink a little and we don't get harmed and we don't harm anyone, so we should be allowed to drink. You see, men would go to the extent of changing actual law
to benefit themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. But you see, this is something, this change or the guarantee of this of not changing the previous message was not there in the previous message. So in the previous message, there is no ayah, there's no verse which says, either in the Torah or in the Injil, where God is saying that I will preserve my revelation or my teachings in this particular book. But you see, such a message is in the Quran. Yes, in the Quran, Allah says, this book has been revealed, yes, by us. And then Allah says later on that it will be preserved. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikr wa inna lahu lahafidhun. Have I said it right, brother? Yeah, my English, Arabic is not that good, but I try. So this is 41:42, believe? Yeah. So this is the reference for that verse. And what I'm saying is that this guarantee of preservation was given. You know why? The reason for that is because this was going to be the last message from God. Now the prophethood has ended with Muhammad. He's the last messenger. In the Quran, Allah calls it the seal of the prophethood. Yes? And this seal is now means it's over. There's no more prophets going to come who are going to correct the message all the time. And that's the reason God needs to preserve this by himself. So you see that today there's only one scripture which has been memorized by children as young as 5, 6, 7 years old. And older men and women memorize this. Bro, you'll find millions of people in the Islamic world. When I say Islamic world, I don't mean the Arab world. In fact, Islam has spread throughout the world. And there is less Arabs today than the Muslims today in general. Only 17% of the world are Arabs. The rest are non-Arabs. And even they revise and they memorize. In fact, there are more huffaz, more people who memorize the Quran in the non-Arabic speaking world than in the Arabic speaking world. The reason for that is because there's more people there. Yes, the rest of the Muslims are there, not in the Arabia. It's easy for the Arabs to memorize this, but it's also easy for the non-Arabs to memorize this. It's one of the miracles of the Quran. It's easy for you to memorize, easy on your tongue. Even if your language is not Arabic, it's very easy to memorize the book of God. And the reason for that is because it's important in the process of preservation that you memorize it. Imagine if they destroyed all the Qurans in the world. The physical Qurans, they destroyed it. All the memory cards and all the other hard disks have been wiped completely of the Quran. But they can't wipe it away from the hearts of the people who have memorized it. You see, this is the way Allah preserves the Quran. There's twofold methods of preservation. One is the oral tradition, which I mentioned now by memorizing. There's another tradition, which is the written tradition. So we have the early manuscripts of the Quran, the first century manuscripts of the Quran, the Topkapi manuscripts, the Sana'a manuscripts. These manuscripts are early manuscripts of the Quran which still exist today, from the first century al-Hijrah. When it's the first century, not the first century of Christ, but the first century al-Hijrah, meaning from the 7th century. And this is what's quite important, that we have preservation both orally and written. And this two mode of preservation is something that Allah will preserve the message of the Quran. So now, like I said, there's going to be no more prophets. Allah has taken it upon himself to preserve the Quran. Unlike the previous messages, Allah did not guarantee, God did not guarantee the preservation. The reason for that is because Allah has always decreed that a messenger will come later on, and he's going to be the last messenger, and the last message will come, which is the message of the Quran. And all the prophets, all the major prophets and the messengers, they basically alluded to this, that a messenger will come later on, and he will lead you into all truth, like it says in the New Testament. And in the Old Testament, there is a prophecy in Isaiah 42 about Prophet Muhammad, that he will come in this particular place where the dwelling of the Kedar is, where the people of Salah will rejoice from the mountaintops. Salah is a place in Medina. Medina is a prophet's city, and the prophet's mosque is there. There's a mountain called Salah, literally 200 yards from the Haram, from the Masjid al-Haram, which is the prophet's mosque. And this was prophesied thousands of years ago in the book of Isaiah, in Isaiah 42 to 55. So does that answer your question with regards to why the previous messages were kind of distorted?
Yeah, it does. And I suppose here we are 1,500 years later, I just won, none of us.
And you see, if you look at the
whether-
first century
whether
manuscript,
God's looking at it and thinking, I'm happy with both things are going, or whether in his mind it's still very early days, because there's obviously still so much conflict, isn't there? Well, and even, just a difference of opinion, etc. And, if we're going to bring like the devil, you start, because, you look at the way that like world global leaders work, it doesn't seem very godlike. the way, the way they act and stuff like that. And so it still looks in a bit of a mess. Maybe, I would have thought maybe even they send another.
I think it'll be a good idea if you look at, for example, look at the comparative religious study. I know we don't all have time for that, but you see, in order to narrow down as to what you need to study, it's like, I would say, look at the religions which preach monotheism, which preach that God is one. The reason for that is because imagine if you had more than one God. A religion which preaches more than one God has never made sense to me. The reason for that is,
all the time, even before I started, because there's a huge amount of ignorance with Islam amongst just the British population, really.
So the Abrahamic faith is basically the one that advocates that one God exists. But you see, again,
Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
So even though Christianity says that there is only one God, but then they have, Islam as belief in one God, because you see many things will now start fitting into your understanding of
where. I know. I mean, like, all of my thoughts are more. Since we sort of speak a lot more. Certainly, my initial, it ties in more with my initial beliefs anyway. Like, I went to a Church of England school. Not my choice. I was like, 7 years old, or whatever. Or from 5 to 10 years old. And so you get taught stuff from the Bible. But I've always struggled with the actual idea that Jesus was the Son of God. Always struggled with that. But they never really pondered on it too much.
No, you're right. Because you see, there are many sons of God in the Bible. I don't know why they only say Jesus is the Son of God. Because if you look at Abraham was the son of God, Solomon is the son of God, David is the son of God, Abraham, because sons by the tons in the Bible. But you see, when the Jewish people, they read this, they take it metaphorically, that people who are righteous are called sons of God in the Hebrew terminology. But when it's been translated into English, literally, then it changes the meaning. Because when you say son of someone, you imagine this is like the biological son of God. No, it's not. God is not someone who's a physical man like us who begets a child. This is blasphemous to God. And that's the reason Islam has nipped it in the bud and saying God does not have a son. But Jesus was a messenger of God. He's a servant of God. Servant in the sense that he does what God expects of him.
I mean, it made sense. I've never really seen the correlation before when the Romans became Christian, but because they were pagans before and had their many gods, and then Zeus, the Hercules, it sort of fits. It was all a way of marrying the pair up. Whereas we're Christians, but then it comes to the New Testament, this, that, and the other, so it's still tied in with it.
They wanted to somehow harmonize the faith of the Romans and the paganism, their belief in, because they didn't want to. The Romans were very, zealous about their faith. And
Oh, well, I never
yes.
believed they truly converted at the top. Anyway, like I said it.
Well, yeah.
I felt that they just did it.
I think
You
after
can't
they
beat them,
watered
join
down
them.
this father-son relationship, they kind of
They were
felt
scared
that
of
yes, we
losing
can be
their
part of
power.
this faith. Yes.
Yeah, they were scared
Yeah.
of losing their power, and Christianity was on the
Alright.
rise.
So
they
you have done some studies about Islam, I believe.
Well,
Yeah?
it's just my common knowledge, but I
Yeah.
suppose I'm not like an unintelligent guy. But I mean, I've never been a theologian.
No, you don't need to be a theologian to become a Muslim. You see, in order to be a Muslim, it's very simple. You believe that there is one God and you believe Muhammad is his messenger. These two articles of faith is enough for you to accept and to become a Muslim. And you see, once you become a Muslim, then all the sins that you have committed in the past, they are wiped away. As if you are, it's a clean, yeah, you start with a clean slate here. And this is what I mean. So I don't know what's stopping you from becoming a Muslim, because it looks like many things that you believe already is kind of
are
in harmony with
in
Islam.
harmony,
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to take the Shahada today?
I don't know. I want to read more. I don't know.
No compulsion, no
yeah.
force. But if you want to, you see, you shouldn't delay something good, like they say. The elders say this, and this is something that I found it quite motivating in the sense that if something is good, you shouldn't delay it, because you see, we don't know what's going to happen to us tomorrow. Yes, we might be knocked down by a car. I might be knocked down by a car. I don't know. But you see, at least we know, and Allah will, and these people will bear witness on the day of judgment. Yes, for you, that yes, you have actually taken the step of accepting Islam and believing in one God and Muhammad is his messenger. It's a simple thing as that. And then the other things that fall into place, like what are the other things? Yes, you should basically things like you do not drink alcohol, which is a good thing, which cannot be bad. You do not eat things which are harmful to you, like for example, eating. You know what? Even things like fatty food and all these things. This is something that Islam doesn't basically condone. You shouldn't eat or drink anything that harms your body. Your body has a right over you, and you have to feed your body something which is wholesome and good. Yes, so I personally do not see anything wrong in all the prohibitions in Islam. Do not fornicate, again a good thing. Yes, good for your family, good for your children. Do not gamble, again a good thing. You see, all the prohibitions are something which is good for you. And remember this, there are many people who would say that drinking a little alcohol is good, but they do not realize how harmful that can be for their liver. And this is something that the doctors will tell you this. Even little by little, it does harm you eventually. So everything that's been prohibited is good for you. So I don't know what form of your what lifestyle other than the lifestyle Islam has recommended would be good for you as an individual, as a family member, as a community, and as a nation as a whole. So this is something that Islam has basically taught. Do not go by all this propaganda against Islam in the media. And I know you're an intelligent person who would actually overlook those propaganda, because you see, if you look underneath it, it's all lies basically mostly. I mean, we got 1.8 billion Muslims. Do you really think they'll have the same mindset?
I'm anti-Western media anyway.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So you shouldn't delay something which is good. So if you say the Shahada now, like I said, all your sins of the past will be wiped clean, and you start with a new life which is wholesome, which is basically beneficial for you as an individual, as a member of your family, as a community, and as a nation as a whole. Like I said, no pressure. But it's very easy. You see, it's very easy. You just say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, which is I bear witness that there is one God, which I believe you already believe. So that's an easy part. The second part is you believe that Muhammad, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, that Muhammad is his messenger. If you read the lives of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you read his seerah, you will see that he was merciful towards the people, even those people who persecuted him. So I'll just give you a small synopsis about just a synopsis of his life when he was actually expelled from Mecca by his own people, the Quraysh, because they did not agree with the message of Muhammad that everyone is equal in the eyesight of Allah, except by your piety. This piety of yours determines whether you are higher or lower in the eyes of God, in the sense that it's not your skin color, it's not your status as being, because you see in the Quraysh they had status. There are people who were the elite, who would not mix with the people who are lower than them, and they would be within their own circle. And this is something that you find in other faiths as well. But just to keep it short, what I'm saying is that Muhammad, when he came with his message that there is only one God and everyone is equal in the sight of God, except based on their piety, they did not want to accept that. They said, how can we, who are the elders, who are basically the leaders in our community, mix with people who basically do not have clothes to wear or food to eat? How can you call us equal to them? Yes, so I'm paraphrasing here with regards to how they felt about this one message of Muhammad. And those people, they basically, because of this message of Muhammad, they drove him and the people, his companions along with him, away from the city. So he had to basically migrate to Medina because of that. He had to leave his beloved country, his beloved nation, and go to another place as an asylum, a person seeking asylum in a different place. And those people of Medina, they welcomed him. And this is linking back to Isaiah 42, where the people rejoiced when Muhammad came to Medina. So yeah, coming back to the story of Muhammad, so these people, they used to persecute Muhammad and his companions. Some of them used to basically beat his companions to the point of death, and some of them were even killed in that process. Just because they were saying...
Jewish as well.
No.
900.
Let's not get mixed up with what the people who basically backstabbed Muhammad during a war, which the other Jewish tribes did not do.
Yeah, about
yes?
900.
So,
900 people.
no, but you see, you're getting mixed up with the two different history. We'll come to that. I have no problem with dealing with that.
And tell him, like, if he's going to be a Muslim, then if he's going to leave Islam, he will be killed. Yeah,
Sorry?
Tell him that. I mean, if you're going to leave Islam,
Yeah.
if he's going to be Muslim, and he's going to leave Islam.
He won't be killed. Don't worry. You're lying over there.
Nobody
All
can
right.
kill you here in the UK. But I mean, in Muslim mentality.
Are you planning to go to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, you know.
No, you're not. So your point is a moot point.
Yeah, no, but in the
Useless point there.
Can I?
Useless point.
They say if you leave, then
Irrelevant, useless point.
He can study anyway. He can study.
You know,
He can find out himself.
die.
you know, earlier you were respectful when you said, "Can I interrupt?" Can I interrupt? Now you're interrupting for no reason.
But I asked you a question, you didn't answer.
I asked you a question. What is your religion? You didn't answer. Exactly. So I don't have to answer your question if you don't answer mine.
But you're here for a reason. I'm not here for a reason, you know.
Actually, you are here for a reason.
No.
But anyway, I want to talk to him if you don't
You're in
mind.
the Hyde Park. You're in the Hyde Park.
Do you mind? I want to
Because
talk to him.
Excuse me.
No, I don't want to excuse you. So going back to our discussion earlier, okay? Look at him. This is what the shaitan now is doing. You remember we talked about the shaitan? This is exactly what is happening. The shaitan doesn't want you to believe in the oneness of God and to believe in Muhammad as a messenger. And this is the proof. This is the evidence. Many people want to take you away. The people who are insecure to tell what faith they believe in, they don't want to reveal that. The reason for that is because they're insecure. At least we are open, you see. We are Muslims and we preach the message of Islam. In Islam, you do not just kill people just because they leave Islam. No, it doesn't work like that. There's actually an entire process, because there are many people who would join the armies of Islam claiming that they are Muslims, and then they would backstab them. So obviously there has to be some sort of a deterrent, and that is one of the examples. There are many other factors. So anyway, going back to what I was telling you about Muhammad, the people, his companions were persecuted to the point that they were killed. Just because they said God is one, that's it, basically. And they were driven away. You know what, when Muhammad migrated to Medina, and after 10 years when he comes back, and he conquers Mecca, he was the head of an army of 10,000. Yes? He could have annihilated all those Quraysh people who persecuted his fellow men, his companions, the men and the women who were killed by them. He could have killed them all. But guess what? When he came to Mecca, those people were fearing for their life. The Quraysh, the pagan Quraysh. But he did not do that. Because he said, in the Quran, Allah says, he is Rahmatul Alameen. That means he is a mercy to mankind. Yes? And he came as a mercy. He showed them the mercy of God. And he showed them that you will go free. All those people, they will go free in the sense that he will not basically force them to convert to Islam. He will not force his judgment upon them, because the judgment of killing his companions, he could have killed them, but he did not. He forgave them. And this is the mercy of Muhammad, which people will not tell you, which the media will not tell you. Because they look at all the things that they think are wrong, and they'll expose that as Muhammad's weaknesses, but they will not tell you about this merciful. Because you know, the uncle of Muhammad, he was basically speared by this Habashi, this man who basically killed his uncle, Hamza. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ forgave that man and that woman who basically conspired to kill his uncle. This was like something personal to him. You know, someone in a family gets killed, the first thing you want to do is you want to take revenge against that person. But you see, Muhammad was setting a standard higher than what they had. Because in Arabia at that time, it was basically tooth for a tooth. You had to basically kill for another murder. But Muhammad set a standard higher, but he basically didn't want to see that woman who conspired to kill his uncle, because his uncle was beloved to him, and he didn't want to see her face. But you see, that is the least he could do, basically, to show his displeasure to what she had done. And this is what I'm saying. what Muhammad did during his time and what message he basically portrayed throughout the history, throughout his biography, throughout the hadiths, will tell you that he has done many things which he could have taken revenge, but he did not. He preached one God, and he preached mercy to mankind and the love to mankind, to live with each other with equality. This sense of equality was unknown at that time. Yes, when Umar, one of the caliphs of Islam, the second caliph of Islam, when he entered Jerusalem, yes, after the Muslims had basically conquered Jerusalem, when he entered Jerusalem, his servants, they had turns basically when they were traveling on the way to Jerusalem, that for a little while the servant will sit on the camel because they had only one camel, and for a little while Umar, the caliph, actually the king of that place, would sit on the camel. Yes, when they approached Jerusalem, it was the turn of the servant to sit, and the servant realized this, that is coming, we are approaching Jerusalem now. Shall I get off and you sit so people will know that you're the king? You know what he said? No, it's your turn, and I stand by justice, and I stand with equality. And then when he entered, the people, they all went to greet that servant as a king. They wanted to welcome him. And then he pointed, no, I'm not the caliph, he's the caliph. So you see, this is the teaching of Islam. So yeah, brother, do you want to take the Shahada today? Inshallah.
Let me have a look, because I've got a Quran at home.
No problem.
Yeah, read, because then I know that I'm going in.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, but we can't be blind.
But don't
now.
delay a good thing, like I said.
No, I won't. I mean, I'll read more.
You want a copy of the Quran as a gift from? Oh, you got one already?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you anyway.
Yeah, what's your name, brother?
Rob.
Rob?
Yeah.
All right, very nice meeting you, Rob.
We'll come back
Take
next
care,
week
yeah?
or the week
Yeah,
after.
please do, yeah.
I'll read more 100%. And then that one I'm going in.
Okay, very nice talking to you. Thank you very much, sir.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, we have to find ourselves the answer.
Yeah.
Not to listen to anyone. You find out.
يا ديمة خير وعطاء ويمام نقاء وسخاء يا نجما شع فأبهجنا يا شعلة نور وضاء يا ديمة خير وعطاء ويمام نقاء